Hello and welcome to CIT 260, Object-Oriented Programming, final presentation. My name is Rob Wagner, and I'll be conducting this presentation. Wanted to thank, first of all, Brother DeBry for all the effort he put into helping us learn the Java language and object-oriented programming, as well as my teammates who made a lot of contributions into the process. I apologize if I'm not sounding extra chipper today. I woke up with the flu, so really bad timing. However, I feel like we can probably get through this. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Let's start with an overview. What we're going to do is review some of the components in Java for the object-oriented program that we've studied over the last few months. We'll demonstrate those functions in a live project demo, as well as share some screenshots of the code in action. Well, I guess the screenshot isn't going to be in action, but we'll share some screenshots as well. This project is closely based on the text-based role-playing game Hammurabi, which can be found at www.classicreload.com/hammurabi.html. In this case, however, the game is going to be based on the ancient biblical times of Joseph in Egypt before the 7 years of famine, in which players are going to act as one of Joseph's overseers and are responsible to manage resources so that their subjects may survive the years of famine. So, without further ado, let's get started. First, we're going to start with the basic program. The program is made up of classes, and each class is made up of variables and functions that relate to it. And there are two primary types of classes or variables. There's static and there's non-static. So static is when you want something to stay the same. It is set as static, meaning that the characteristics and attributes associated with that class or variable remain the same. For example, in our program, the map class is static because its value does not change when you lose people or if you gain more wheat. It's always going to be the same map. A non-static variable or instance variable is known as one that might change through the course of the process or program. For instance, if you were having a successful year and you have more wheat, well, it's not going to be the same amount of wheat you had the first year. It may change to a different amount of wheat. So that's an example of one that would be non-static. Here's an example of the static display map case. And again, the map in this case, this is displaying like the little images that represent the map. And this map is a 5 by 5. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have 5 going down as well, which shows up a little later on the code. So there's 25 locations within the map, and they don't change through the game. They're always the same locations, so that is an example of a static one. Let's take a look at arrays, array lists, and enums. There's different types of lists, so let's investigate those first. First of all, an array is static in size, so this just means the number of elements within an array does not change once the object is created. When referring to a list of fixed elements, such as an array matrix representing different sections of the map, where the map neither grows nor shrinks, the array option may be appropriate. An array list is a variable length collection class. So you might use this kind of list when you're managing inventory, special weapons, or maybe your livestock increases. Those things will change, and so the list may change. Therefore, you might use an array list so you can grow that as your circumstances change. An enum shares some similarities to an array as it is a fixed length list, but that's where the similarities end. Unlike an array, once you declare the constants of an enum, they cannot be changed. Enums can be referenced in a switch case, such as this example of the main menu class. Now, I apologize, I actually have the main menu class a little bit later, but in this case, I want to share with you the location matrix. And so this is an array matrix. Now, if you're just doing one set of brackets, that's an array. In this case, we have two sets of brackets, so now it's a matrix. This is how we handle our 5 by 5 map locations. And we give the one value I and the other value j for our for loops. Now, as we continue on, there'll be another example that shows you some of the different locations within this. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So here's some of the different locations based on that array. And the way that the player would go to those locations, per se, is there's a sort of XY coordinate option where we ask for player input, and they enter the X and the Y. So in this case, let's say you did 0, 1. In this example, you would meet an old wise man in your travels, and it cuts off here, but he asks you if you've ever heard of kamut, which is an ancient type of Egyptian grain. Or in the second one, if you enter 1, 1, you find a protein bar, add 3 points. Oh, excuse me. Add 3 points to your strength, your taskmasters, as this will improve your productivity. So there's an example of a couple of locations. It's kind of fun to give each one its own unique response so that people can have fun exploring the map. So how to throw, propagate, and catch custom runtime errors in your program. This is also known as exception handling. It's very important. The program is designed to receive certain responses. If it doesn't receive that response, it may crash. This is where exception handling comes in. We need to provide a response for the program that is able to manage a response from the user that's not what we expected. So let's say in this case, the user sees this option of 5 different things and 5 different menu options in the game menu or main menu. And what if they entered like a 0? Well, in that case, it's going to catch that exception. And the way we do this is we have a do while. So the loop is going to keep going until they enter something that is a 1 through 5. And the way that we manage that is we say if the option is less than 1 or option is greater than 5, that's why we're going to throw that error there. And then the exception exists in the exception class, which I created earlier. Okay, why a character string class should be used versus a byte string class. Character string classes can be more versatile, and when you're engaged in a program that might be a global presence, it's important to be able to receive languages beyond the one of your native country. And so because of that, you're going to have some characters that will come in. Like let's say you get some Chinese characters. Well, that's his name, but we already said if there's less than 2 characters that it's going to ask you for a new name. So we need to have a way to manage that. So that's why it's important to have a character string class in some instances versus a byte string class in others. So how to write character data to an external file. In object-oriented programming, we can actually create files and assign the data in our current session to those files as a type of saved game. This allows players to stop and resume their experience when convenient so that they do not have to complete the whole game in one sitting. So now we're going to go ahead and give you a demonstration of the program in action. So here we go. And we're going to click Run. And you will see that it starts with this introduction box here. It tells you what the game is, what it's about, what your role is, and it asks you for a name. So I'm going to put Rob. And now it says, Rob, you have been appointed overseer for your village. Tread carefully. If your people are not fed well, you may lose your head. So it has 5 options here. Now let's go ahead and test that exception handling. If I put a 0, it says error, invalid option, and then it loops back and asks me to put another one. Let's say if we put a 9, again, it has an error. And so that shows us that our exception handling is working. Now, what if we're new to this game and we want to learn a little bit more about it before we get started? Well, we could press 3, and that'll take us to the help menu. This gives us 6 options, with the 6th taking us back to the main menu, or we could say, what are the goals of the game? Who is Joseph of Egypt? How do I view the map? And so there's different options within here. Let's say we decided we're going to go ahead and go back to the main menu. So we do. And we decide, I don't have time for a game right now. What if I want to quit? So you hit 5, because you can see 5 is the quit option. And it quits, says goodbye, and thank you for playing Joseph in Egypt. So kind of short and sweet, but there's an example of the game in progress. And believe it or not, that actually takes several months of programming to be able to design these inputs and outputs. So with that, I just want to thank you for participating in this presentation. Hope that you enjoyed it, found some use out of it. I want to put a little plug in there for anybody who's currently in college or wants to start studying. Whatever you do, keep learning. No matter how hard it is, just keep learning. That is the one true wealth that grows as you use it, and you'll enjoy those benefits for the rest of your life. So keep up the good work, learn something new every day. Thank you.